Hey everybody, Minigrous Freak here, and I figured since I'm starting a playthrough with Jack the Doppelgänger that I should do a special skill tree build to show you what I'm planning on doing. Um, I'm just gonna let you know that chances are that this will change down the road. I also want to let you know that I basically am not building him as damagey, I guess as damaging as Wilhelm. Um, I'll explain, and I'm going to be building him actually more tanky, and I'll explain everything as I go down. Um, so without further ado, expendable assets. At level 3, this is already a pretty decent skill. Um, the only downside is you basically have to stay in one area, because if you move too far away from your Digijacks, they despawn, and then if you're just running, new ones will keep spawning as you're running away or running towards whatever. So if you don't want to waste your time, if you want to have the most expendable assets as possible, you gotta stay in one area. But that's okay, because for the first skill, let me turn that down a bit. We're going with Bolster, which increases maximum health for you and the Digijacks, which means the Digijacks will of course last longer, and the longer they're alive, the more damage it does. 10% damage bonus per second is amazing. I don't know what exactly the health loss constantly until they die thing for the Digijacks is, but the thing is you'll have 30% additional health and 10% damage per second. So even if you only last a couple extra seconds, you're still doing extra damage with these guys, which is pretty cool. You might be wondering why I'm not going to go down best foot forward. Don't worry, I will just later in the tree. My next point is going to go into you have my shield. This is an amazing ability considering that for Gage, this was at the bottom of the tree. And each Jack has a copy of your shield, so that's actually really awesome. For your tier 2, you do have to decide then between take their freedom and just compensation. Now, my excuse for this is magazine size is nice and grenade damage is nice. However, I don't use grenades very often. I find for my Wilhelm that until I got the snowball grenade, I was barely even using grenades, and I only had the base amount. I upgraded it, I think, to either 4 or 5. And even then, I was not running out of grenades. It wasn't until after I got my snowball grenade when I was in research and development that I actually started using grenades frequently. So I think that from what I can tell, grenades are pretty flippin' strong. I was using a level, I think it was level like 6 fire bee grenade until about level 15. So there's not you don't have to really worry about weapons scaling out in this game. So you don't really need the grenade damage boost. You can get the magazine buff if you like, though. This is purely my playstyle choice. If you use a lot of grenades, I would go with just compensation. If you don't, I'm going to go with take their freedom, which at rank 4 heals you for 10% of your maximum health on a kill. Considering how tanky we're gonna be, and it's not gonna be difficult to take us down, but we're still gonna need a lot of health regen since we're gonna be taking hits as we go. That being said, I'm gonna put a point into Jack's cash. I know I said I don't use a lot of grenades, and this is purely for a utility thing because it gives you every 4 kills you gain enough stacks to get a free grenade, and with Jack's Cash, you don't need to upgrade your grenades. For example, let's say I had that Fire Bee, I throw out the Fire Bee, I get enough kills to then throw out another free Fire Bee. I don't need to spend a Moonstone to upgrade my grenades right now. So this is actually kind of a cool ability, in my opinion. I was considering not using it though and putting a point in Take the Freedom, Again, it really depends on how much grenade use you're using, though either way, free grenades is always worth 1 point. I'm going to put a point in on my mark because this again gives us free grenades, plus you throw free grenades straight at where your crosshairs are. So basically, if you're going to go into a big fight, and if you already have enough points of Jack's Cash, you can, you start the boss fight, you chuck a grenade at a boss, or you put up your jacks first, you chuck a grenade, and then have your jacks chuck grenades, and you have 3 free grenades straight on a boss. This can be really useful against characters like Red Belly or Felicity Rampant, who don't really move that much. I found that grenades were actually really helpful against the Zarpedon fight, not because of the damage, but just because, not because of the element, but because of just the straight damage. The snowball grenade does a little over 1,000 damage, so basically I was pumping out rockets. It was kind of funny. So just imagine 3 snowball grenades going straight into Zarpedon. That'd be kind of funny. So next, I don't really like the tier 4 abilities. The fire rate is nice, but it's based on how high your health is. Meaning, if I have max health, that's going to be like a 35% bonus to fire rate, and I really don't like that. Plus, the corrosive shot chance, corrosive I haven't really been using. I feel that just using shock or ice is perfectly fine against corrosive and armored enemies. Corrosive doesn't really seem to be that useful, which is sad because I have a really good corrosive weapon. It's a really good corrosive railgun laser, and I never use it. So it's kind of, you don't really need corrosive. Plus, it's just not going to help you because most enemies here are flesh and or shielded. You also have hero. I was going to say heroic. Hero pose, which is just a straight shield buff. I think it's about 20%, though I would rather go down best foot forward, which at rank 4 gives you, well actually this would have been 16%, at rank 4 increases your duration of your action skill by 2 seconds per kill. Keep in mind that every time you get a kill you're healing for 10% of your max health, and each time you and the Digijacks heal, you're lasting longer, you're lasting longer outside of battle, which gives you more damage to help you get more kills. These 3 skills all synergize really well. On to tier 5, you have Resolute, which gives you the damage resistance and the weapon damage. Damage resistance isn't going to be that helpful, and 35% weapon damage for all weapons is kind of nice, but I would rather have Persistence, which, considering my cooldown is 40 seconds, having regeneration and extra shield capacity is really nice when my action skill is down. He doesn't really have, I don't really recall him having anything that gives him direct cooldown. So considering that for 40 seconds I'm gonna be constantly regenerating 10%, up to 10% of my maximum health, and have an additional 40% shield capacity, that means that when my action skill is on, I can be pumping out damage and healing like crazy, and when my action skill is off, I have protection like crazy. It's pretty cool. I like this. Next, we're going to go promote the ranks. From what I've seen, the badass clones are absolutely amazing. Next, I would probably go down the free enterprise tree. This is kind of a weird tree. You could go down Greater Good, but I feel that Greater Good and Hero of this story don't really synergize well, because if you go down Greater Good, based on the strategy behind it, of having your jacks blow up and stuff, you'd basically have to avoid doing Take Their Freedom, Bolster, and, what was it? Yeah, Take Their Freedom, Bolster, and I would probably take away, and have my shield, because these abilities are just basically useless with the strategy of the lower half of the Greater Good tree. So you'd have to respec different ways. So it'd be difficult to get it to synergize if you wanted to use these three skills. So I'm going to go down Free Enterprise. Swapping weapons to get fire rate is pretty nice. Not the best thing, because I don't use a lot of weapon swapping, but if you're really into just going freeze, fire, freeze, shock, freeze, corrosive, whatever, or freeze explosive, then it can be pretty good. Um, I don't really swap weapons that much, but if I do, having an extra bonus fire rate will help me get me back on my feet, considering the weapon swap animation takes a second or two. Though you can buff it. I think weapon swap speed buff is hilarious. To me, it just doesn't make sense. But I guess if you have a really slow weapon, okay. Um, you could go with compound interest. However, I don't really see the compound interest isn't really tested yet of how much damage that compound interest does. I'm still planning on going down that skill just later on in the tree, because marginal benefits is first. Every time you throw a grenade, you have a chance to reload all weapons. This is awesome because with Jack's Cash and On Your Mark, you're going to be getting free grenades, meaning every time you throw one of your free grenades, you have a 45% chance to reload all your weapons. I I uh, I actually prefer marginal benefits over the ability of taxation of trade routes, because I'm one of those OCD people. I'm not really OCD, but I'm one of those like OCD-ish people who likes to keep their weapons reloaded at all times. So the fact that this will save me the trouble of having to reload, it's nice. Plus, I don't feel that having fire rates on magazines with low magazine on magazines is good. Like, if you have three of your equipped weapons with either no or one shot in them, and your one like SMG laser or whatever with a full magazine, yeah, you're gonna get a lot of fire rate, but that also means you have to reload every weapon. So if you go into fight for your life, it's like, yeah, sure, you have a lot of fire rate, but you also have to reload everything. I don't like that. Um, Money as power, I'm not gonna do. It looks really overpowered, but I saw a video with someone who had 971 stacks, the max being 999, of course, and they weren't one-shotting people. I really thought that if they were doing an additional 250% damage, that they would be doing more damage. Also, I buy a lot of things. The items of the day, at least from what I saw early game with my Wilhelm, the items of the day are really good. I was spending so much money, I had to even sell some of my item set things just to get slightly better stuff because it was totally worth it. Like I remember selling like basically almost everything I owned save for my shield and one or two weapons just so I could get that fire bee grenade. And the amount of legendaries that pop up in the stores is really high. I found, I think, 3 legendaries in just one day based on vending machines. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna be spending a lot of money, and from what I can tell, the damage bonus doesn't scale very well. So I'm gonna skip that and put it into compound interest. Again, I don't know how well the compound interest scales, but it seems to bonus explosive damage is pretty nice. Plus, the explosive damage is based on your skill rank and how much interest is accrued. So you're gonna want to put more points in that. I just put 1 point for now, so I could get the lasers. I don't know how much damage Merger is gonna do, but considering it's a 20-second cooldown that gives you a giant blast of laser to override your melee, seems pretty cool. For when I was playing with Jack last night, it seems that either Jack starts off with a high melee that obviously falls off, or maybe he just has good melee scaling. I'm not sure. I'll let you know when I find out for sure when I get higher leveled. But from what I can tell, having an extra laser blast every 20 seconds, that from what the preview video showed, basically can nuke enemies and take out badasses without having to waste any ammo. That's pretty cool. So I'm going to put the extra points into compound interest. Let me double check something. Yeah, so your next point that I'm going to use is going to go into laser surplus. You don't have to put a point into this. I just think the lasers are pretty cool, and I don't really slam that. When I do slam, I don't really use a lot of damage. I doesn't do a lot of damage mainly because the Oz kit I was using wasn't that great, because I was using a level 4 Oz kit for most of the game until I got my Eddie. So when you slam, you shoot a cone of lasers in front of you. Holy skag sack, that's amazing. Because now you basically effectively increase the range of your slam and add on fire lasers. That's kind of cool. You don't have to put a point into this, but I'm going to put a point in it just because it seems fun. Your next choice, I guess, could be between Company Man, Absolute Advantage, and Supply and Demand. I think we already have enough health regen from Take Their Freedom and Persistence, so to make Supply and Demand not useful. Company Man can be nice, though you really have to have a lot of Hyperion weapons, and I've been using a big mix. I have currently in my item set a Vladoff, a Tedior, a Doll, and a Mollywan, and I don't really care. Like, I really like Hyperion and Torg, but the weapons I'm finding are all so good that it doesn't really matter. So, I don't know, if you're really into Hyperion, if you're a Hyperion elitist, go for Company Man. I'm gonna go to an Absolute Advantage, though, because even at rank 4, a 32% chance of not using ammo after a kill skill. Keep in mind that when you get a kill, you're also healing, and you're also, gaining bonus damage and stuff. It's great. It's great. I forgot you don't have any other kill skills. Darn it. This is a good ability. You can put now next to sponsored by. Sponsored by. I'm just gonna let you. You should just pause and read that. I'll wait. I'll give it like 5 seconds. Okay, well, hopefully you pause that because I'm moving on. This ability is amazing, and just to give you an example, say I'm using a scav weapon, and then I switch to a Vladoff rocket launcher. This means I now have an additional 35% magazine, and Vladoff's already have a higher magazine compared to other rocket launchers and consume less ammo, meaning just rockets for days. As long as you don't run out of ammo, you don't have to reload. This is awesome. Or switching from Torg to anything else instantly lets you do the damage, I guess, that compound. And like, imagine that you have a Torg weapon, you shoot someone, they're taking up compound interest. You switch to any other weapon that gives you the 25% damage bonus as explosive. You shoot, meaning you're doing your normal gun damage, the 25% bonus damage is explosive, plus the explosive compound interest. Holy cow, I can't move my mouse fast enough to show how overpowered that is. Go into sponsored by. You have 3 points left over. You can allocate them however you want. If you really want, you could put them in, I don't know, collaborate or integrity or high frequency trading or whatever the fluff you want. I'm just going to use it to finish off the last 3 skills that were at 4 pointers. And that is what I'm going to be doing for Handsome Jack. I realize this has been a fairly long video, and I'm sorry about that. But, that's just what I had to do, because Handsome Jack has a lot of good abilities. Like, he has the commitment ability. I'll let you read that if you really want. That's a decent ability and kind of scary. Or like the fact that the just compensation, it's a good ability, and I wouldn't skip on it. I would use this. I would use, like, for example, just compensation if you were using that instead of like greater good. So he has a lot of good abilities. It's just that some abilities synergize better depending on what build you're using. So this is so this is what I'm going to be going down. Basically, I'm going to be going in the order I showed, and hopefully it'll be really awesome. Unless, of course, by the time I get to 50, they bump his level cap, which that'll just suck. Because that means I'll even have more points to allocate. Until next time, I'm Metagross Freak, and good luck in the Borderlands.